We're going to take a look at the front pages of the newspapers that you're waking up to this morning, starting with The Times. Their big story today, there could be big payouts for workers contacted outside of working hours.
The Daily Mail says that half of Labour MPs have benefited from donations given by unions.
The Guardian's reporting on the Middle East. They say the US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is joining 11th hour talks to push through a Gaza ceasefire deal.
The Daily Express says that Tories united in support, at last united for once, for the winter fuel crusade.
And The Telegraph is leading on accusations that Labour has weakened support for Ukraine.
Well, joining us to go through what's making the news is Dawn Neesom and Chris Akabusi. Dawn Neesom, I want to start with you. Big payouts for workers contacted outside of office hours.
Yeah, this was promised, wasn't it? Labour promised it during their election campaign that if your boss phones you, bothers you, either by text, email or literally a phone call, when you finish work, they can be... you can claim against them, basically. You can take them into an industrial tribunal. However, the devil is in the detail with all of these things, and Labour have watered it down. This is to the Act is coming in September, but it's been watered down to say that it's the Employment Rights Bill, and it's been watered down, so it's like it doesn't apply to all companies, because there are some areas of work where you just can't do that. I mean, you would never get a national newspaper out, for example. You'd never get a TV channel out. If as soon as you clocked off, it's like your boss can't contact you. It's never going to happen. National Health Service, for example, as well. So the bill's been watered down. It now says, OK, terms and conditions apply to certain businesses, and we're going to set guidelines for companies. It's not going to be a hard and fast rule. And the bottom line is you won't probably be able to take your company to an industrial tribunal just for this alone. It would have to come on top of other conditions as well. But if this is part of your claim against your company, it can bump your payout up by 25%. But it'd be interesting to see whether it actually happens.
That doesn't work. It's not
in real life, it doesn't work.
Do you think, though, there is a debate, Chris, about the right to switch off? Because we have this huge problem post-COVID of people not wanting to go back into the workplace and people saying, I don't want to sell my soul again. They know what full-time employment is like in this country. We're kind of becoming more American, aren't we, where people work round the clock. I mean, looking at you, Dawn, never stop working. All weekend as well. You know, is there a debate to be had about trying to make work more appealing so that we can get the economy back up and running? Or is this just basically a disaster from a business's point of view and will not be good for the economy?
I mean, I think your point, even I know you're joking about Dawn. If you're self-employed, you work all hours of God's sense, and there is no clocking on, clocking off. There's 23. So you're actually talking about people that are working in sort of confined organisations where they have a 9 to 5. I think that sort of job is slowly but surely getting less and less. So yeah, you can have the debate, but if you're working alongside somebody in your company that will go the extra mile, that is going to be available 24/7, you will find yourself losing out on a promotion ladder, etc., etc.
Yeah,
so,
good point.
You know, I think the sort of in the end,
it feels like old school, old-fashioned practices. A bit like sort of some of the things offered within the unions, like for example, all that the Spanish working rules and stuff like that. It's just old hat. It doesn't fit into today's modern day kind of 24/7 gig.
It doesn't. And Labour's thing was all about growth. We're going to grow the economy. Well, you're not going to do it like this. It's one of the things that's not going to work. And my old boss, he used to phone me at like 4 or 5 in the morning on a Sunday morning, and it's like, what? It's like, and that was part of the course. You know, it's a national newspaper. This is going to happen. So I couldn't imagine saying, I'm sorry, don't start until 9. Put the phone down. It's just not going to happen.
Let's talk about Starmer and Ukraine, Chris. This is the Telegraph's lead this morning. Zelensky, not the only one who's complaining about our role, saying that we're slowing down our support, but now a number of British former defence secretaries also agreeing with him.
Yeah, look, I was looking at this and the piece says, Sir Keir has upheld a Conservative ban on using UK-made Storm Shadow strikes to strike targets in deep Russia. So actually, when they say slowing down, he's still holding on to the ban that the Conservatives set themselves. Now, Zelensky is talking about long-range missiles and getting into Russian territory, and we need to be able to attack the supply chains. You know, my concern is that slowly but surely we are ramping up our involvement with Ukraine against Russia.
We're seeing our tanks being used, aren't we?
Precisely. So there's no boots on the ground, and then go on.
Well, what's the point of giving them all of this stuff with all these sort of limits with it? I mean, either we want them to fight or we don't. And Vladimir Putin doesn't appear to have any rules. So, I think they just have to get on with it now, surely.
Well, OK, how far are you prepared to go? So you're right, the Defence Secretary is talking about appeasement, we can't appease Putin. But how far are you prepared to go? Are you prepared for boots on the ground? Are you prepared for your sons and your daughters to eventually go across and fight this war?
Well, not particularly, no. That's why I think that actually the fact that he's now attacking Russian soil might suddenly be a wake-up call to the Russian people who will not support what Vladimir Putin is doing. I mean, in one of the previous wars, it was the mothers who ended the war. So I think this is the beginning for the Russian people to go, hold on a minute, what are we doing?
So do you think Putin really worries about the Russian mothers?
No, I don't think he worries about that, but I think that the optics are now not looking so good for Vladimir Putin, so I think the people may not be supporting him. I mean, you know what happened with the troops. When they captured the troops, they were just young boys who didn't really know what was going on and... You know?
Yeah. Look, the arguments both sides. I am concerned that slowly but surely we are ratcheting up the law of diminishing returns. You think that you're safe, and then all of a sudden you're not. You do know that we've got UK installations in Estonia. My fear is that one day we wake up with a skirmish on the border and something happens in Estonia, and before you know it, Article 5 is ratcheted up and we are now at war with Russia. If that's what you want, crack on.
Well, we've been at war with Russia, you could say that from the start.
Well, exactly, but Chris and I were talking about, I mean, Chris has obviously served in the military. You've got a young lad now of the age that would be sent out. I mean, it is. And the way Chris was explaining it, you were terrifying me. I don't need that on a Monday morning. Thanks, Chris. But I think, there is a genuine fear now that it is ratcheting up. And, Estonia is part of the United Nations. So it's like, it is getting a bit scary. But we're caught in this stalemate now. And like you know, I saw that story at the weekend about those young lads. They were conscripts. All the commanders had done a runner, so all the people in charge. There were the young lads sitting there. There's one little boy. I mean, he was supposedly 18, but he looked about 12, in a Rolling Stones T-shirt. And I'm going, these kids.
Yeah, exactly.
They shouldn't be there doing this.
They don't know what's going on.
No.
And one of them was saying, well, they all look like us, so we don't know who to shoot.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly.
It was terrifying stuff. And the way Chris explained it, as someone who served in the military and with a lad of the age that could, in theory, be sent to serve, I mean, that was chilling.
It won't be Ben Wallace. It won't be Sir Ben Wallace's kid that goes out to defend.
Yeah. Oh no.
It will be mine. It will be yours.
Or Keir Starmer's kids. They're not going to go there, are they?
Yeah.
No.
So really, we do need to have a proper discussion about this, not being led by these people who are slowly but surely sending us down the road. But are we, the British people, prepared to sacrifice our boys and girls on that anvil over there? And if we are, then crack on. But let's have this discussion.
But surely allowing them to use these missiles as, that will actually help Ukraine to destabilise Russia a little bit more. And then maybe, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the Russian people have been kind of told a different story.
Yeah, but that was the we were told when we had anti-tank and mortar missiles. We were told, all we need is to stop all this rain of stuff that's coming across us, and we can deal with it, then we can reclaim our territories. But month upon month, it's escalating. It's just escalating. Where does it end?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question.
Dawn, let's look at this story on the front of the Telegraph about the misogyny law and how this could be, in some quarters, there are concerns, it could be a risk to free speech. Tell us more about what the law is designed to stop.
This story originated at the weekend, and it's about misogyny now being defined as potentially terrorism, the same as we have our laws governing against the far right and Islamists. And the extreme misogyny will now be lumped together under this, and you are meant to be reporting anyone that exhibits extreme misogynistic views. So that, in theory, could, if you've got a young lad in school and the teacher could hear him say something that sounds extremely misogynistic, reporting him to Prevent, which is the anti-terrorist, stop people getting too radicalised in whatever area they're getting radicalised. But there's so many questions with this, isn't there? It's like, how do you define what is extreme misogyny? I mean, if we're talking about sexually assaulting and violence against women, we already have laws for that. So what is extreme misogyny? No one, Yvette Cooper, who's come up with this, couldn't define it herself at the weekend. And where does it limit free speech? It's like, I think the phrase she used was unpalatable beliefs or something or other. And it's like, well, what? How do you do? Are you now going to govern my thoughts? You know, I might think something, I'm not going to act on it.
Yeah, but then how do you tackle the problem of this rise of this toxic masculinity, where we're seeing an increase in sexual assaults? 1 in 14 school-aged girls saying that they've been touched when they haven't wanted to be, and the rise of the kind of awful rhetoric that these young boys are being indoctrinated in by the Tates of this world. What is the solution if it's not this?
Well, it's not an overnight solution for a start. I don't think it's a legal law laid. I've once said before, and I got cancelled on an NHS contract because of it, that the challenge that we have today is what I call the defenestration of masculine power. And by that, what I mean is that young men growing up today have not had a masculine role model or enough masculine role models to show them right from wrong and how to constrain their power and to be polite to women. And maybe women don't want that anymore. I mean, maybe in this egalitarian society, we don't want men to be... Chivalry is it dead? Is that something?
I love that. If somebody opens the door, I can't stand it if they're not.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's much more sinister than a lack of chivalry or an expression of chivalry.
Sorry, I mean, I've gone on a tangent.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that if you don't get a lad when he's growing up, you say the Jesuit, she said, the child is the father of the man. Give me the child and I'll give you the man. And the idea was that you needed to train that young kid in the way he should go. I'm talking about the masculine now. And so if you don't have masculine authority, showing that guy, we often go, I'm a bloke, look how I treat my wife and my sister. If they don't learn it from that, then when they get to 14, 24 and they get their masculine power, they don't know how to constrain themselves.
And they've got the likes of Andrew Tate. But isn't there still... I mean, within this prevent strategy, there is something called incel, which is... and it refers to the male subculture and includes violent feelings towards women.
Involuntary celibate,
rejected. So this thing is already covered within the prevent strategy anyway. So why do we need something extra?
I agree with this, but we do need to do something. I'm just not entirely sure this is the answer to it. I mean, Chris, you know, we need strong male models who aren't Andrew Tate, because his view of being a strong man is completely the opposite of what a strong man actually is. So you need strong male, but how do you start doing that?
And the scary thing is that teachers are reporting that boys who are coming from outwardly normal homes with a positive father figure are also now displaying these toxic values that they're seeing on the internet.
I think
it's infectious.
I think that's the thing, and I think a lot of it is online porn. We have to keep coming back to that, and it's not like the porn we remember when we were kids, Chris, where you got top shelf magazines with a bit of boob and bottom. This is like hardcore stuff where no respect for women whatsoever.
Exactly. I think that's
women are just pieces of meat.
Women are there for male gratification and usually in huge amounts of pain, I would imagine. And that needs to be addressed, and no one ever talks about it. And you know, boys are seeing that from a very young age.
Well, no, I'm just thinking that, but all these boys have got mums. I mean, no, they haven't all got mums. I didn't have mums, so you can say. But you know, you'd think that you'd learn. You've got a mum, you've got a sister, you've got an auntie, that you would actually learn how to
respect women.
From.
Common decency.
It's almost like a desensitisation. They're being desensitised, even though they have a good role model around them. But that space is then filled, that void is then suddenly filled with people like Andrew Tate. So really, I think they need to be taking people like Andrew Tate to task, actually, rather than...
Well, also the social media platforms. A lot of these kids say that the algorithms are pushing stuff at them that they didn't want anyway. Because that's how they make their revenue.
I think the state need to get out the family and let dad get on with it and stop, you know... We need fathers, we need dads, we need people who grab hold of their sons and say, mate, that's not how you do it. Right when they're early, when they're young, and teach them how to go.
But there's a groupthink, isn't there, with men? You know, like, there's a camaraderie and all that sort of thing. They do what they don't want to appear different.
The locker room chat.
Well, you get that. But in my day, that was on a sports field. That was having a ruck in the playground. That wasn't beating up women. other blokes would give you a slap if you were beating up a woman. What's that all about?
Yeah.